I visited Hampshire Carnivorous Plants to talk to founder Matthew Soper and learn more about growing these amazing plants.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Soper. I'm the owner here of Hampshire Carnivorous Plants, based just outside of Winchester. I've been growing these plants over the years now for over 30 years. We set up the nursery here, Hampshire Carnivorous Plants, late 80s. We've been attending RHS flower shows and other major flower shows throughout the country. We've been awarded over 200 RHS gold medals. We've been displaying at the RHS Chelsea flower show since 1999. We're not there this year, 2025. Over the years we've been going there, it's 23, and we've had 23 golds, which is quite an achievement, and really pleased with that, very proud of it. We sell our plants via the website, which can be found on www.hansflytrap.com. Also, at many of the flower shows we attend each year, you can buy them from the shows for mail order, and also we have about 8 open weekends throughout the year, which you can come along to. Have a look at our website for more details. I've been growing these plants now since I was 7. I started off with a Venus flytrap, and I remember I killed it. I fed it a piece of chocolate, and then another one I had, I fed a piece of cheese and kept poking them, which is not good to do. And they both died. But on my third attempt, I was quite successful and grew on large enough to fill up a washing up bowl. These are not tropical plants. These actually come from just a small area around the town of Wilmington in North Carolina. And they're actually hardy. We grow these out in the garden as well. They're growing in a compost of peat and horticultural sharp sand. They really are picky and they really like that mix. You can use an alternative of sphagnum moss mixed with coarse grit. As long as it's ethically collected sphagnum, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great alternative. These must have rainwater. If you've had problems with these before, it's probably where the nursery that had it before you was watering them with tap water. And then you probably don't do anything wrong, but the damage has already been done. And you'll normally notice this by the foliage starts to yellow and go black. And they need to stand in this pure rainwater all the time in a very sunny, unheated greenhouse. They are not that suitable for houseplants, but if you really do want to grow them as a houseplant, you can stand them in rainwater on a sunny windowsill, spring and summer. Then in the winter, move it out to a porch or an unheated greenhouse so it can die down and rest over winter. Another thing which I did to the first flytrap I had, which you don't want to do, is you don't want to keep poking them. It's very tempting, but each one will only shut twice, so the plant uses so much energy closing, and when there's nothing there in return feed-wise, they just gradually go backwards. You can't feed them pieces of meat or dead flies either. They will only eat live flies. And the reason for this is when the trap closes, it can actually sense movement. And there's nothing struggling or trying to escape. It thinks it's a raindrop or just a twig that's fallen in and will just come open again. But if there's a live fly in there, once it's closed, it can sense the movement and it will clamp down, release a digestive enzyme and start to break the insect down and eat it. The Venus flytrap can actually count. I don't know if you can see on each lobe there are 3 trigger hairs. If they're touched once, the trap remains open, because it could be a raindrop or a leaf or something. But if they're touched twice, or there's 2 of them touched at the same time, it quickly closes. Now, my initial interest was the Venus flytrap, but as years have passed, these are North American pitcher plants, Sarracenia, which have become my favourites, and we hybridise a lot of these ourselves. These are not tropical plants. They look extremely exotic and very unusual with this funnel-like foliage. They actually come from parts of Canada and down through the eastern seaboard of North America, through the Carolinas, and then across through the top of the southern states. Now, when I first started growing, I used to get them quite warm indoors, and that's just not the right thing to do. They really do need a cold winter rest. We're in now an unheated greenhouse, so this is the best place to grow them. Then they need to be stood in about 1 inch of rainwater through the growing season, and then kept just damp over winter. They are herbaceous perennials, so they grow all their foliage spring and summer. All the foliage we're looking at here has been produced over the last 6 weeks. Then over winter, they die back down to the rise zone. And when they're kept in a cold greenhouse, that's the best position, or outside in a peat bog garden. They'll do that naturally themselves. Now, I've been growing these plants for quite a number of years, and we also hybridise them ourselves. This is one of my own varieties here. This is a Moorei. This is Flava, crossed with Leucophylla, with a nice big red splotch in the back of the neck. It's a real favourite of mine. These are the flowers. We collect the seed at the end of the season, round about October, November, and then the whole process starts again. The way in which the Sarracenia North American pitcher plants capture their prey is completely different to the Venus flytrap, and I will add that these are by far the most efficient insect catchers of all the carnivorous plants. They literally fill up with flies, wasps and bluebottles over the growing season. Now, how they do this is quite unique. There is nectar around here. You can see the sticky droplets of nectar. It's extremely sweet, it's a bit like golden syrup. And this initially attracts the insects, and they land on the lid and start to eat the nectar. Not only is it sweet, but it has an intoxicating effect on the insects. So the more they eat, they get a bit drunk, as it were. They move their way around the lid, and they tend to walk down into the neck of the plant, where there are larger deposits of nectar. They eat the nectar here, being a little bit unsure on their feet. It's very, very waxy, and they just slide down into the trap. About this height, there are downward pointing hairs, which makes it extremely difficult for them to climb back out of the trap. A bit further down, there's a pool of digestive fluid, and this slowly starts to break the insect down. The reason all of these plants are carnivorous, they're not related to each other. They can be found different continents, different parts of the world, but the reason they're carnivorous is because they all tend to grow in very nutrient deficient soil. So they've evolved over thousands of years to get their nourishment from insects, and in some cases small mammals, rather than the soil, which is normally impoverished, peaty type soils. I started with the Venus flytrap, which is all well and good, and I lost a few of them, but this is the plant I should have started with. This is Drosera capensis, or the Cape Sundew. It comes from South Africa, and this is the easiest carnivorous plant to grow. It does move slowly, but if it catches a fly, it can actually curl and twist around the fly. And how these capture their prey, they produce this sticky substance on their leaves. So small insects land on that, they get stuck, then the leaf actually has the power of movement to curl around them, releases an enzyme again and starts to break the insect down. These are extremely easy to grow. They're very good at catching whitefly, so these are brilliant as a companion plant for house plants, which suffer a lot from fungus gnats. If you've got a greenhouse, you could pop them in with your fuchsias and they'll catch a lot of whitefly. They get covered in them. And it looks like the whitefly are actually attacking the plant, but after a few weeks they slowly get absorbed into the leaves of the plant. Just stand them in a saucer of rainwater in a very sunny position, unheated greenhouse, or on a sunny windowsill indoors, and they do very well. The flowers are open during the day, they close at night, thus self-pollinating the flower. So you leave the flower scape on the plant until October, November, until it turns brown and it's really crispy. Then just shake it over some piece of white paper and the thousands of little seed will come out. Then you just sow that onto a compost of pure sphagnum or some peat, and you'll have loads of them before you know it. Here in Hampshire, down in the New Forest, there are 3 British native sundews, and all 3 can be found down there. This is Drosera rotundifolia, the round-leafed sundew, and this is prevalent all around Hatchet Pond and other places where there's a boggy area. We're very lucky that in Hampshire, all the UK native carnivorous plants can be found down in the New Forest. And again, it works in a similar way to the Drosera capensis. Though not as easy to grow. The capensis is the one that I would recommend starting with. It produces these sticky leaves, and small insects are attracted and stick to the leaf. They're best grown outside. These are hardy plants, and they're not really suitable for indoor in a house, even in a greenhouse. In here, it's a bit warm for them. So the best place is out in a bog garden. So this one's a bit unusual. This is Cephalotus follicularis, or the West Australian pitcher plant. It's a single genus species and can be found south of Perth, around Albany area, down southwestern Australia. It has these lovely little moccasin-like traps with teeth that turn in on the inside, and they're like a pitfall trap. Again, the insects fall down into the bottom where there's a digestive fluid which slowly breaks the insects down. I wanted to talk about these because these are very similar conditions to the pitcher plants and sundews, and I will just say that all the plants we've looked at can be grown together. There are other carnivorous plants that grow in various other parts of the world, but they're not matching with these ones, but this one is. So an unheated greenhouse or unheated conservatory is ideal for these, in a little bit of rainwater and kept just damp over winter. So again, wet in the spring and summer, damp in the winter, but well worth having a go. It's a bit more of a challenge. They are a bit slower growing, but very rewarding. When they're in the glass house like this, they sit in the water spring and summer. So we start to keep them sat in water from around about the end of February through till the end of October. So they're constantly wet. So what you're doing, you're recreating a bog or swamp, as they call them in the States. These are swamp plants. So you can't overwater them through the summer months. In the winter, they're actually sat on capillary matting in here. So we let the water evaporate. So when you get to around the end of November, they're just sat on this damp capillary matting. And the reason we keep them just damp in the winter is because they can get a disease called botrytis or grey mould, which attacks any of the dead foliage. And that can be a problem. By keeping them damp, you do reduce the risk of this fungal disease. And if you grow them outside in the garden, you don't get this problem at all. We do get enough rainwater in this country. It's just storage is the problem. As you know, we had an extremely dry period, and today's the first little bit of rain we've had. And we've got an acre of glass here, so we capture as much rainwater as we can. We've got 50,000 gallons of storage on the other side, and we were down to about 6,000 gallons, so we were quite low. We've got about enough for another week, and that's it. There is a really good alternative. You might have seen the spotless water. There's water stations. If you look online under spotless water, you'll find your nearest one. And then what you do, it's similar to a petrol pump. You take a can or a plastic container and you can fill it up with spotless water, which is deionized water. And that's absolutely fine for these plants. It's relatively inexpensive, because the other alternative would be deionized water, which is used for car batteries, which you can buy from Halfords. These are our water storage tanks, and we collect all our water off the top of the glass house roof. And I would say that we definitely get enough rainfall in this country. It's just storing the water, which is the problem, whether it be reservoirs or tanks or water butts. We need to really move forward with our water storage in this country. I mean, we're going to put another tank up to be on the safe side, but I will say that by mid-November, both of these are overflowing. If you'd like to know a bit more about these, or a bit more in depth on propagation, how to divide the plants, or creating a bog garden, or producing plants of this standard, then come along to one of our master classes, details of which can be found on the website. The classes are run for around 4 hours and a maximum of 12 per class. But well worth a look if you really want to get into growing these plants and growing them really well.
If you've enjoyed watching this video, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram or X for video updates as well as my flower of the day. And you can email me at freyastropicalgarden@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website at freyastropicalgarden.co.uk, where you can find a range of information including public gardens that I've visited and information on plants that have been shown on my videos. I've had so much fun making this video, but if you'd like to make a contribution towards running costs, you can do so via PayPal.